going to need is some engine oil, 530 for the 370. And then you're going to need, I end up going with Mobil 1 with the 15,000 mile oil, only so that way I don't have to change it as often, and maybe change it like every 8,000 miles, but it'll also last for about a year. And then with that in mind, if you go with the full synthetic and you're gonna do the longer term oil change, you're gonna want an oil filter that's gonna last the same amount of time as your actual oil, because it doesn't make sense to get a cheap oil filter if this isn't going to get filtered from this as good. This is no good, and you're going to have to change both out within 3,000 miles, no matter how good your oil is. So make sure your oil filter is rated to the same life as this or better. So this one actually is protects for 20,000 miles. Let's see if I could get that in. And this is the actual oil filter that you're going to need, the part number to it, if you decide to go with Mobil 1. This is like $10, this is like $28. So for an extra like couple more dollars, you get the longer life oil. You could use either a Phillips number 2, or you could go with something like this, but make sure it's an M10, because this is the size you're going to need. Or you could put it on a drill, or however you want to do it, just make sure you got M10. So the first thing we want to do is mark a date and how much mileage your car has on when you replace this. So let's go take a reading on that and then find out so we can mark it. Okay, so in the car, we turn it on so that way we could get the reading. So it's 22,096. So turn that back off, come back out. So then we're gonna mark down here 9/29/17. Since we know it's 17th, I mean the 29th of 2017. And then we had 22,000 miles, 096. So I always mark the oil filter so that way I know the mileage that I changed this, and then the date. So that way it allows me to just look at the oil filter just in case I didn't log it anywhere else, or I lost the booklet where I'm logging it on. At least it's always on your oil filter, and you know when to change your next oil. And then also, if you forget, it's like when you go back and look at this, you're like, oh man, it's been a year and a half or a year, and it's like I should have done it, in 8 months. But just so that way you have clean oil, but at least you know next time to keep an eye on that, because sometimes you just forget, and it just passes you up, and then next thing you know, it's been a couple months. So mark it down. Okay, so to remove your oil, you're going to need a 14 millimeter on this. Let's see if I can get that in focus. So 14 millimeter, and we're going to use this oil pan down here, catch it, and here's the drain plug here, and here's our oil filter. This should be hand tight. If not, you could use a tool or a pair of channel locks to break this loose, because it's a smaller filter. But let's get this broken loose first. So it's on there kind of tight because I'm using the 1/4 inch drive. So let me get a bar on it, or let me step it up to a 3/8.
Body goes, don't get hurt, can't feel anything. When will I learn? I push it down, push it down. I'm the one, a good time call, phone's blowing up, bring my mind up there. I feel the love, I feel the love.
notice, so it's a tight spot in here to get your hands in if you're a bigger guy. So I use this little coupler here. It goes on the end of the oil filter, so like that. And then I use a number 19 box-in wrench, and I made sure that if you look right here how it bends in, I made sure that that bend faces the inside, so that my wrench is lined up more with the center, and I push pressure on the backside of here and I just tightened it. So with like my Chevy truck, I could do it by hand because I could get more leverage in this area to tighten it, but you're gonna need either this tool here, or you're gonna need a rubber strap with like a handle on it, so that way you could cam it over and tighten this. But luckily I had this tool, so that's one thing to remember to have. Okay, so on the driver's side, you're gonna have this cap, which is the oil side, the fill. Get something like this to funnel it down. If you don't have one of these, if you have a 2-liter bottle, you could cut it in half, so that way the spout sticks down, and then fill it up that way with the 2-liter. But make sure this is clean before you use it if you had it and it's dusty. So basically what we want to do is just funnel it in. So this is going to take all 5 quarts, so this whole thing, and then just check it after you drive it around. Check it to make sure that you don't need to add any more. The reason why I'm not going to add some of another quart is because inside your engine it doesn't all drip down, so there's still some circulating in your engine, some of the old oil. So if you start adding in oil without checking the dipstick, you may overfill it. And we know for sure 5 quarts is what it takes, 5.2 or 5.3, something like that. But it's not enough to add any yet. So we know we're safe with the 5 quarts. Okay, so we got that. We'll put the old oil in here, and we're not going to check it just yet. Well, we can run a test check, and basically a test check would be pulling the dipstick out, checking to see where it is on the actual shaft here. But you want to start it so that way it circulates through the engine. Once it circulates through the engine, you want to let it sit for like a couple hours and then check it. I do not check the oil when the engine's off, only because it's going to slosh around and it's going to give you a false reading. So when you check it, it's going to be like all the way up on this dipstick, so you won't be able to see it. And you're going to think you overfilled it, but in reality, it's just the engine pumping so much oil, flinging it all around, that it comes up the dipstick on its own. So we could run a quick check right now, check it, and then start the car, and then let it sit, and then check it in a couple hours, just so that way it could circulate like I said earlier. And then we want to take this back off. So this, put it on a rag. Once it's on the rag, install your cap again. So install this, and then start your engine, and then see where it's at afterwards. So basically that's the install on the oil filter and the oil for the 370Z. If it was a helpful video and it helped you out, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, comment and subscribe, or just stay around to see more related videos to installs, like for instance these shock hoods, or the shocks for the hood, the struts. I also bought some brake calipers, so I'm gonna run the Akabono big brake kit, so I got that coming, so that's gonna be another video if you're interested in that. And also I'm gonna change out these rims soon, after I start getting everything going, and maybe some suspension and exhaust mod. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, stay tuned. Thanks for watching.
I'm not coming home. Save your breath, I'm nearly bored to death and fading fast. Life is too short to last long. Back on earth, I'm broken, lost and cold and fading fast. Life is too short to last.